what's coming in. Exactly what we've been doing, just keep the ground on. Don't be a Catholic and sit in the back. Sit in the front. It's a nightmare Germans, isn't it? We all brought to do that. Sit in the back. Oh, I see. Good point. Yeah, I just we can ask. Come up front in your normal place and come on. Got your name with you. Hands are supposed to get up. Get a sing song on it. Everybody well? Yes. What happened? Anybody got the time?
11:27.
Now, we've got mics. Do we need them?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
That's great.
How's that? And testing, you can hear me as well on this mic? Yeah. Thank you.
90 seconds. broadcasting to the whole of Europe. Jill, in other words. Yes.
You're live now.
Oh, live now. Jill's speaking to us from Monaco, isn't it? No, where are you, Jill? Oh, she can't speak.
You can put something in the chat box.
She's in France somewhere, isn't she? So, how lovely is that?
Yeah, she's got it. She's there. France. That's the coach.
I thought it was the police. Oh, it's the bishop.
Did everybody have a terrific focus on last one?
Greetings, Robert and Andy. Okay, so good morning, everybody. I will do sort of a bit of an intro to the meeting and the reason why we've called this and who's called it in just a moment, but as is customary for any church-related meeting, and indeed wholly appropriate, I'd like to start by asking Father John to open with a prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Heavenly Father, we ask for the guidance and the influence of your Spirit this morning. May you accept everything we do, everything we say, everything we think. May it be for the glory of your name. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, so thank you, Father. Thank you very much, everybody, coming to this open Sacred Heart community meeting. So it's been called really sort of for you on behalf of what has now become a merged group of people who are here to sort of work for supporting the structure of things that are happening around the Sacred Heart. So that's the Pastoral Council and the Finance Committee have in effect merged. There's enough cross points of the same people, not least Jan and Father John, that having lots of meetings has made it quite challenging to fit everything into the diary. You have a bit of a sense of the number of things from this structure, how many things go on in our little community. And we're relatively light on numbers, so it's been useful to sort of merge them. So, Pastoral Committee side, which is a little bit more around the sort of the structure of the things that happen around church, and the Finance Committee, which obviously sort of speaks for itself in terms of the finance, have merged. So, from the pastoral side, it's myself who's the chair, Shanti is vice chair. We also have Mike, Jill, who's from France, John, who's not able to make it today, as well as John the Father, and then we've also got the finance side, so that's Maggie, Felix, Mike as well, I think. That's one of the crossovers, Jan and Father, and I'm sorry if I've missed anybody, I don't think I have. But obviously, you know, we're just a number of people. There are people, as you'll see, across the things that happen at church who do other things, and most of us have got our sort of fingers in some form of other area or not, whether that's children's liturgy, whether it's voters, whether it's safeguarding, whether it's Union of Catholic Mothers. You know, there's sort of a certain amount of crossover. Anyway, the purpose of this meeting really is to help with being open in that forum to explain a little bit more about some of the things and quite significant things that are happening with Sacred Heart at the moment. And we're going to run this sort of over the next probably just about an hour, where Father John is going to sort of lead sort of Jonathan Dimbleby style questions and answer sessions with various members from those committees, and obviously there'll be plenty of chance for you to answer questions. So sorts of things we're going to cover will be the 10-year plan, the You'll Be My Witnesses plan. Part of that has shaped why the Pastoral Committee and the Finance Committee have actually merged as well, because technically, strictly, we are not a parish. At Sacred Heart there is a wider parish, which is that sort of based in St Bede's, but it's the group of churches locally, and Maggie and Mike, as well as Father, represent Sacred Heart on those more formal, if you like, pastoral councils and finance committees. So Mike's going to talk about the 10-year plan. Felix is going to talk about the suggestion box, which I think we've had phenomenal response from, so hopefully some of the discussion around that might even answer some of the questions that some of you will have put in. I think that's been a really fascinating and really well-engaged initiative, so thank you for all of that. The latest lot is all listed here, and there's 40 or something suggestions, which merge into themes. Maggie will talk about finance, Jan's got an update on property. If we can restrict Emrys to a few minutes, do a little update on health and safety, please. I know he'd really like 2 hours on it, but we can't quite grant that. And then obviously, most importantly, probably time for questions from anybody on the floor. I think it's probably easier to save questions on particular themes until that end section, if that's okay. And then, yes, we'll try and close for about 12:30, if that's okay. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Mike up to the hot seat and talk about the 10-year plan.
Thank you, David. Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Mike.
I'd like to put it into context, first of all, how I came to be in this position. About a year ago, Father John Lee approached me just outside the church and said to me, Mike, I need your help. So I said, sure, what can I do? And he said, I'll be in touch. And then 6 months later, I got summoned to St Bede's Church, and I found out that I was attending a Northeast Hants pastoral team leaders meeting. And it started from there. And then I was introduced to what the 10-year plan is all about. Essentially, as you probably have heard before, the Portsmouth Diocese undertook an analysis and an examination of church attendances, marriages, funerals, and basically there was this downward trend in attendance, to the extent that it was beginning to affect the monetary issues, the monetary income coming into the church. And of course, if the bishop was to do nothing at all, there could well be a situation where we could all be in debt. And so he acted upon this, and as a consequence, he has tried very hard to involve people like myself and you. Already you know that many of you have been contributing financially towards the cost of the clergy who are retiring and other aspects to do with the administration within the Portsmouth Diocese. But it doesn't alter the fact that there's also other aspects to do, which is the maintenance of buildings such as ours and others in the overall Basingstoke Diocese. And the fact is that with falling attendances at church, money is short. And so the bishop's approach, and this is one of the things that I have learned from the one and only meeting I've attended so far, is that he wants to get everybody involved in a kind of evangelization program, which is to try to encourage people back into church, to get more people getting married in church, basically to bring back numbers to what they were before COVID. There's no doubt about it that COVID did have a direct effect on the church attendances, but I can honestly say to you now, positively, it's beginning to go back to what it was in pre-COVID times. But nonetheless, we can't just sit back on our winches and think, oh, we don't need to do anything about it. We have got to do more. We've got to try to work harder and making sure that young children who come to church want to stay as Catholics, as practicing Catholics, and don't just disappear into the ether. So as I said, at this particular stage, I'm involved in the kind of pastoral side of things. I'm your representative here at this particular church, and I'll do everything I possibly can to keep you up to date with what is going on. I know one of the questions up here was, do we need to worry about this particular our church closing down? No, I don't think you have. I think basically one of the things that I am beginning to become aware of is that I and other people within the church, including Father John and the whole of the parish council and you, we are involved in a process, a management of change. We're not in a process of managing decline. We've got to look at it from that particular point of view. So I share with you that I feel very positive about what's going on. As I said, we've got this wonderful priest, John Chadwick here. We had before him Father Paul, and we need priests like him and of his calibre to ensure that the numbers of people coming to church steadily increase, which is what they have been doing. So if you've got any questions to ask me, by all means, I'll do my best to answer.
I've got a question, Mark.
Go ahead.
So in this, you've been to more meetings than I have. It was. When indeed I wasn't able to be there. But, which I'm sorry about, everyone. But
Too close.
Pardon?
Turn your mic off.
I'll go further away. How about that?
No, that's
Yeah. I did have a shower this morning. But I think one of the concerns I've had about the whole principle of this rationalisation, amalgamation, whatever you want to call it, and us becoming one parish in Basingstoke, is the loss of autonomy for each community, because this has been a parish for many generations, and it has a flavour to it. Every parish has, and that's because every family is unique, every family of faith is unique, and I suppose I've had a concern about being able to, like we're doing now, for example, taking responsibility for our own mission and looking at the needs that we particularly know about in Hook and this area. In what sense can that continue? Is that going to, are we just simply going to morph into one parish where we're sort of basically told what to do, and we lose local initiative? Do you get my question? To what degree are we going to keep?
I certainly understand what you're saying. Like you, I would be very concerned if everything was handed down to us from some central area. No, I think it's impossible for us to actually lose our autonomy. We are representative of the people that we're serving here. And each of us, I know that Anne, and I can list a whole lot of other people who do a particular job. And it's a very important job which makes this particular church unique. The next door, the home, the work that the sisters do. We're not typical of other churches. It's what makes us quite unique. The very fact that you've raised that question probably suggests that other people are thinking exactly the same. And if you like, I could raise that at the next meeting.
Rachel, I guess.
Father John, they stood up there and told us there's going to be a group of priests that are going around different churches. So what does that sort of hint to you? It's going to be a group? Really, there's not going to be a priest based in certain churches. There'll be a group of priests. A team. Let's not think a team of priests will go out to different churches. We said on a Saturday night here, everybody was here on a Saturday night, heard him say it.
Again, I can't comment on
No,
that.
that's what I'm saying. It makes you think, oh, hold on.
Yeah.
Parish priest is telling us that. What's he actually saying?
Well, let's put it in another perspective. I'm not trying to defend anybody here. I'm not, whenever I'm representing your views. Unless the church, unless the bishop is aware of what our values stand for, then they're going to go the same way as the Tories do. I remember Penny Mordaunt saying exactly the same thing when she left. She said the Tories did not understand and not represent the values of the people. So I think there's my answer to you.
Yeah.
In that case, how does he know whether we represent?
Again, how does he know? Well, I suppose this is what it's all about, communication. You know, it really is. The fact that I'm there, hopefully other people are going to be raising the same issues. It must be an issue that everyone is concerned with, the very fact that you're here. Remember, I'm listening to what you're saying, and any issues that you come, or any sort of questions you want me to raise, I will raise them.
I think just, Robert.
The thing is, to me, this is 20 years deja vu, because we went through this in the Holy Trinity. Exactly this. We're all going to work together as a group. And Father Paddy Gillen was sitting next to me, invited me to come along to speak to you, just said, that won't work. And he was absolutely right, because we're a community, we pull together as a community, we do things as a community. And they can't impose upon us. And I know what Emrys is getting at, because that's what they did in France. They suffer from lots of churches and very few priests. You get on your bike and you do a different service. We don't need to do that. We don't want to do that. This is a lovely community. And I can say these things get put forward over the years. Well, let's all pull together. Well, no, because we've got the church, we've got the building, and it's working beautifully.
I can address this, and hopefully just to reassure everybody, in my relatively short experience, 30 years now, there's a massive link between healthy, fruitful parish, for want of a better word, communities, and the priest that you've got. And I'm not in any way, I'm talking generally, certainly not particularly. You've got a bad priest on the whole here, but no, in all seriousness, there is a massive link there, and it's about. It's supposed to be. It's the model of the Acts of the Apostles that the shepherd looks after the sheep and serves. Very important word, servitude. And if you take that, if you separate that, parishes, families of faith become mass centres. They lose the family of faith feel. So, as long as you've got me here, I'm going to defend that to the end, because I know that is an ingredient that has come from the Lord himself. And if we start to mess with that, the reason we're having a lot of these conversations at all, one of the main ones is we haven't got enough priests. And why is that? And instead of actually asking that question, which no one in leadership seems to be courageous enough to do, then we're going to be in an ever more complex, challenging situation. The fact of the matter is we do need priests, don't we? And when you've got effective preaching of the gospel, you get growing communities, and out of those growing communities you'll have priests. That's how it goes. And of course we should have married priests, and of course we should have women priests, but that's for another day. But I mean, these are basic questions, and all the while those in leadership continue to sort of do the ostrich thing, or worse sometimes. We're never going to get anywhere. But as long as you've got me here, along with Mike and others and all of us, I'm going to defend that, all right? And frankly, if they start, making us all supply priests, essentially going around to wherever, I will probably refuse to do that. That's how strongly I feel about it. All right? So as long as I'm here for the next week at least, I forgot we're on the live stream. But YouTube for posterity. No, I mean, it's a massive point, and it is an essential ingredient without which you won't have a vibrant community, and you won't have if the bishops are talking about evangelisation, that's what we're here for, and that's how you achieve it, by having a vibrant family of faith. Then you have evangelisation that happens naturally once you've got that. And I think the priest, stable priest, and the community is essential in that. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you. So we'll move on maybe now for Felix, please, about the suggestion box.
Just thank you, Mike, for doing all you are doing. I'm very grateful to you. Thank you. Don't forget, you can put questions at the end. Don't feel suppressed at all.
Good morning, all. Can you hear me? The committee asked me if I could help with the suggestion box. And I thought I have some scientific background, so why not try and give that to the community to do something in a structured way. So when we first started, the first week we only had 5 cards. I thought, oh my God, this is not going to work out. But today we are up to 47, and I collected 3 more, so that's 50 suggestions. I mean, this really shows that we have so much goodwill in this church, really good, amazing goodwill in this church. And our job is to harness that to the benefit of our church. So what I have done here, I have categorized, well, I tried to put them, because there's so many suggestions, to put them in a kind of group structure. Now, I may have got this right, I may have got this wrong, but please highlight it and I'll change it. So we got some color coding, so we got various groups. What I can also see is there are some repeated topics. So in a way it's good, because that means there's a strong view on a particular topic which we can address in those. And one of the areas that I see in all of this is it's not visible to the parish what the structure is. So I think we discuss all the, it's amazing the amount of ministries we have here in our church. And there are already certain functions up and running here, but it's not already visible to the parish church. So what we now need to do is to try and get all this goodwill we have in our church is to create some volunteer groups. So I have put some sheets at the back. So as you leave, please put your name down. If you think you can contribute to the church, put your name down, and that would be a really good way to start. And then what we need to do is to go through this list systematically. And we need to show to the parish that we really take these things seriously and we want to action these things. There are some things which are very simple and actionable items. And we already started one, and I started discussing with Jan as well. And one of the points that people have raised is, why not we have a rota system to count the money out to the masses? Of course, we need to work with the practicalities, how we do that, because we are handling money, and also access to the safe, how do we manage the safe? But somebody has to take responsibility for the safe as well. But that doesn't stop us getting started, creating a rota, getting people involved, and then doing the counting. And this could be first one to go. And then we can go through this list. So at this point, if you have any questions.
I just want to echo the, whose idea was this? no, in all seriousness, it's absolutely fantastic, as you say. It shows that we really value the family of faith, and that we really want to see it prosper in every possible way, and I think it's a magnificent response. So thank you for making it happen, and I think it could be quite a normative way of a constant. This isn't one-off, it's all the time, bringing new ideas in as new people come in. You know, we're seeing new people all the time coming into our midst. So it's a very easy access way to engage with you know, the motivation that is the Sacred Heart book. So thank you, Chris, for everything you've done. If you have any questions, save them till the end. Don't put it unless there's anything pressing, is there? Thank you, Chris, very much indeed. That's great. Was there anything? Sorry. No, you're not allowed to speak, sorry. Off you go.
I think it's magnificent. I think you've got a lot of good thoughts there, but it also indicates, or implies, it indicates to me that there's not enough communication.
This is one of the points that we now need to look at through this list. There are some points people have raised. how about we put that information at the back? One of the suggestions in there relates to the finance status of the church. Maybe once a month we can just once a month we have to publish what are the company in our church accounts are like. Maybe that we don't have enough money in certain areas, then we can ask donations or fundraising, whatever those activities are. So I think that's one of the communications that people are suggesting here.
I think the very fact that we're having this meeting now is part of this ongoing, it will never stop, effort to always strive to communicate more effectively. And you deserve that. You know, we all stakeholders, to use a current phrase, in this family. So of course communication, but it's a life's work really about, and it's being open to constantly look at new ways of doing that. Obviously the website, for those who are not familiar with, I'm very conscious of that, for those who are not familiar with technological media and the like, you know, website's going to be no good, and there needs to be other ways as well as what website, but that will be increasingly, we have something now to look at. Kerry will be looking at the website, that's her game, so it's going to be significantly improved, I think, because of her involvement. And that will be a platform to be able to say, but we need to find other ways as well. Yeah. The announcement slot, without making them half an hour at the end of Mass, is another one, and the newsletter, of course. And you know, yes.
Who is it going to do the website?
Kerry.
Yes. Kerry.
Well, she's a parishioner at the evening Mass.
Saturday evening, her son serves. She's been very regular for
several years.
Long time.
What's her surname?
O'Sullivan. They sit at the front here on Saturday nights.
Yeah, we did a shout out, if you remember, a few weeks ago, and she responded. So yeah, so that's really good.
I didn't recognise the name.
No, and that's the great thing, isn't it? We're getting, well, Kerry's not new, she's been here for a long time. But yes.
We need something to go on the website, so who do we contact?
Through the office, yeah, But Kerry's not been that, well, she's had a spell of illness, I think, recently, so she's back on her feet now. So, no, you will see her in the next little while. But it'd be a great thing, particularly for the slightly younger people who that's what they do all the time, isn't it? You know, on their phones.
So just,
yes,
just to take you to the next stage. So what I have done is at the back there are some forms. If you please put your name forward, if you want to volunteer in a particular area, and just give a contact name or email address or whatever, so that we can get in touch. And the next point is, if you think you can lead a particular group of you, put your some identification. I like to lead this group for to contribute to the parish. Do that in that form, and then we can take it and discuss it further.
Thank you very much. Candy, did you have your hand up?
It was actually what Felix just
Right.
answered. I was going to say, how are you going to take the rotas forward? But if you're going to look at the rotas and then select people who are leading it, then somebody can go back to that person if they want to go on the list in the future. So you just answered the question for me. Thank you.
I think one of the things it's something that is a fact that we can't undo this, much as sometimes I'd like to. We are part of the Diocese of Portsmouth, and when we're looking at procedures, policies, that kind of thing, unfortunately, we don't own this building. It belongs to the Diocese of Portsmouth. The decision-making mechanism to make any decision in relation to the charity that is the Diocese of Portsmouth belongs to the trustees alone. So, that means when it comes to handling money, for example, we're subject massively to ever-increasing amounts, isn't it, Jan, really? Ever-increasing amounts of bureaucracy in the diocese, which we have to comply with, because that's the basis upon which we are a charity. I say we, Diocese of Portsmouth, are a charity. So what looks quite simple turned out to be not so simple because of the policies and the procedures that are in place. But but anything we do, bearing in mind all of that, is that we have to look at constantly in ways we can improve things, and always remember the bigger picture in this, that everything that we're doing, every aspect of our life should be about proclaiming the gospel, the good news to people out there, and so that other people may come to know and love the Lord. That is our job. Everything is measured. It's not a social club. Not that I see any evidence of that here. This is about a family of faith that's here, chosen by God to do a particular purpose, which is that. Everything needs to be mentioned against, measured against that benchmark. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, oh, sorry, yes, that's okay.
So, can we go through the list then? What's suggested?
Suggestions, yeah.
Well, not 50 today, we'll be here all day.
Yes, that's what we thought.
There is 47 in here, it's quite a lot of details in there. So my suggestions would be, I can leave it at the back, so everyone has access to it. I'm also prepared to print it out, any copies, if anybody wants to have the copies of the...
Yeah, we have the questions, but where will we get the answers?
Sorry?
You've put the questions in,
Yeah.
and you've got the list of them, which you're going to show us.
Yeah.
But when will we get?
You will get all the answers. I believe me, over time we're going to have to prioritise that.
Because I took responsibility for this, I will make sure you all get answers to this.
Yeah.
We cannot have
I thought that was the point of the
and there are no answers to this.
I thought we were going to discuss the answers. Yeah.
Well, you will over time, but there's 50 of them to do today.
We need them, and then the next step is to try and get more people involved in this whole thing. So try and use the list, give your names, addresses, and then we'll try and form the group to do this.
This is not a one-off. This is part of a much wider conversation, which is going to go on and on and on until you're sick of it. Okay? Because this is about, some of these are not quick fixes at all. And we need to prioritise and work through each one. That's the whole point of this. So this is an update. The purpose of this meeting, just a reminder, is to look at where we are and what's been going on the last 12 months or so. Celebrate that. And also to look at what the key issues moving forward are. But in terms of you engaging, it's all the time. You've got the suggestion box. We're going to have the updates from Felix on a regular basis. So all of this, you will get answers to, absolutely. Otherwise, there's no point in doing it, is there?
We have a column here, who and by when. So we need to fill those. Who is taking the...
Have a look at it. Have a look at it. Yeah.
You said the groups, there's a few different groups. Yeah. Is it possible to answer the question for each group instead of going through all of the questions? So you've got 10 questions that talks about one thing.
Yeah.
We answer that to that.
So I mean, one of the ones that I suggested to the team, but we haven't had time to really discuss it all, the practicalities. About 4 or 5 suggestions relates to people what would like to have a rota to count the money after the month. So this is one of those ones. We can say, okay, let's get this out of the way because it's probably, but as Father said, because it's money and it's a share, we need to make sure that there are right procedures in place to safeguard.
Well, they are, yeah, policies, there are policies.
This we can handle, but counting is a separate issue.
So that's one group.
Yeah.
Well, that's one question.
That's just one question, yeah.
I was sort of thinking on the same lines. It's, we know there are lots of questions, but is there a kind of a drift as to what people are saying? So are they kind of, you've been able to sort of say, right, there's a chunk of people who are concerned.
Yeah, you could just go.
Is there a chunk? Do you know what I mean? Because it's,
So, several of these questions relate to organization, how we organize ourselves, and who is responsible for doing what. So there I have color coded in one group.
one colour.
Perfect.
Right.
Then there are ones related to mission, the church related to mission. For example, if you get my glasses. For example, by the way, people who put their name.
Use mic.
People who put their their name, I have included in the list. So Father John Chadwick suggested why don't we have a parish-wide pilgrimage to Walsingham? So these kind of topics I have put on the mission. Another one is relates to bring back the use of confessional and comfortable sitting example. So I put that on the mission. Small prayer cards in the church books.
So it's not a kind of, apart from the organisational issues, the other ones are more or less for bits and bobs.
Yes,
Well, there are something to do with reaching out.
Right.
And there are some points related to volunteering. People are saying, I'm happy to volunteer to do the cleaning the garden, flowering and everything else. And there are some related to procedure, how we do things. And I think sometimes it's not very clear to people how we do certain things in the church. So these are procedural things. And I think it's good to highlight, this is how we do certain things in the church. So everybody is aware of that.
So probably apart from the, if I'm reading this correctly, apart from sort of many questions relating to not knowing what's going on, communication, all that sort of thing, there's no kind of big issues that are coming out, that they're all little.
Well, the big issues are kind of, in titles, if you like, are finance. We've got 5 today. In finance, property. I know a lot of the people rightly are concerned about the house and all that's happened obviously in recent months about that. So we're going to have an update in a minute about that. So we just to start the ball rolling. This is a start the ball rolling process. To do justice to all these questions, it takes time. You can't just give immediate answers because it triggers all kinds of research regarding what we're allowed to do by the diocese and all the rest of it. So, but you will, as long as I'm sitting here, you've heard the assurance from Felix that you will definitely get answers, but some of them take time to answer. Some are easy, but most of them aren't, to be fair. And you need to know that it's been considered properly and that you get a proper answer rather than just off the cuff. This is the beginning or part of the beginning of the process. Yeah.
For example, you are talking of where the finance group. Whenever Jan wants to spend money on anything, she always communicates with the finance group and asks our views. So at the moment, it's not visible to you. This is what's happening. It's not Jan spending money. She asked the finance committee to make sure that we agree with these expenditures. So these kind of things are happening, but it's not visible to the parish. So we need to make that explain to the parish. This is how we do it. These are procedural things, and we need to put some procedures in place so that people know this is what we do. This is how we do it.
Thank you very much.
Segues nicely into Maggie for the finance update.
Welcome, Maggie.
Thank you. I don't know whether I need this. My voice is loud enough as it is.
No, you do just for those who struggle with it.
Okay. I ought to start by saying thank you very much everybody for coming, and that I have been on the finance group for quite a while, waiting for the next election to come up so that maybe I could take a back seat and somebody else would like to take a forward seat. It's been very interesting, and as Father said, we're also involved in the wider finance group, of which we also have only had one meeting down at St. Bede's, which involved the finance people from the other churches in our wider area. There was no decision made about anything being centralised at that meeting, but I can see the point that with the priest at St. Bede's, Father John Lee, being the parish priest, he needs to know of any major expenditures or major things that are happening in this parish. And that's understandable, but I'm sure he doesn't want to be inundated with, oh, by the way, can we buy more candles this week, or we're running out of hosts. Incidental things like that. Those are things that we will be carrying on in our own Our bank balance, you'd be interested to know, is fairly healthy. It stands at 72,354.21 pence. We have income coming in, offertory, candles, books, hall income, interest. And we do have the odd legacy. We've been very lucky with some legacies, which, you know, people who've passed away, who have been parish members, who've left us a legacy in their will. So our receipts tend to run at about 40,000. But then, of course, we have our outgoings, which cover clergy, stipends, housekeeping, supply priests, wages, national insurance, light, heating, electricity, equipment, council tax, telephone, the diocesan levy, that does run at £8,000, courses, professional fees and donations. Now they run at 51,160.
Can I just say that that is from the beginning of September to the end of May?
Yeah.
So 9 months.
That's about a 9 month, yeah, September 23 to June 24. So you can see that our outgoings do actually overrun our income at the moment. So our fairly healthy bank balance is dwindling. We then, of course, got the presbytery, which, do you want me to go through? Or? Yeah. So the presbytery comes under repairs and maintenance at the moment. I mean, that repairs and maintenance also include the hall. So we've had work done on the hall, we've had work done on the roof and the electrics, we've had work done on the heating in the church. We've now got radiators that do work because we paid quite a substantial amount, 1,800, to flush the radiators and to get the boiler done in the house. The house at the moment is obviously still empty. We are hoping that we are going to be able to go forward with renting that. But at the moment, due to asbestos being found in the ceilings, we've had to replace the ceilings. That's ongoing. We had a leak not a couple of weeks ago, which we were intending to replace carpets anyway, but the carpets have had to be removed and the leak mended. And of course we're still paying, because no one lives in it, we don't get a reduced council tax on the house, which you get for single occupancy, so we're paying full council tax. I think on our gas and electricity, probably the standing orders are the standing charge is actually more than what we're paying for gas and electricity. But that's the case with everybody. So, any questions?
I think just to be clear, we've got a segment on the property, on the presbytery on its own in a second, which Dan's going to lead that slot. But just on the financials, are there any further questions there?
Can you get that back on insurance, that leak from the new carpets or what?
Don't think so, no. I think it would be more what you have to pay out in your...
Most insurance policies have an excess.
Yeah, I think the excess will probably be more.
It's for the policy holder.
Yeah, the actual leak got fixed free of charge because I rang the plumber that we use and he came rushing out and helped us drain it down and just said what happened was a T-joint had popped, so he soldered it, put it all back. The carpets were going to have to be replaced anyway because unfortunately they were covered in blood from when Father Philip used to have a few falls. So the only thing was that I think the shock factor, we went in and there was a bit of a leak. So it's all dried out quite nicely.
We'll come on to that in a second. Was there any further financial things? As you know, I can't actually remember when we did it. We published accounts for everybody in the back, didn't we?
September, we published the accounts.
You know, that is a minimum. I think I'd like people to be completely familiar with it's your money at the end of the day. So, you know, that's why we do the annual publishing of accounts and copies available for people to take home. So that will continue. But, you know, in addition to that, we've got today, we've also got the publishing of the collections every week and in the newsletter. So constantly looking at ways we can be more and more accountable. So that's an ongoing process as well. Yes.
So one thing to say on the finance side, I think it's really useful to hear that summary. We're all extremely grateful for the work of everybody on the finance side and Jan, and to try and balance this potential deficit or actual deficit, but at least we're propped up by being able to save money over the years and put it in that fund. We are growing in numbers at Sacred Heart, whether that's a Saturday or Sunday, but we're also growing in our expenses. I think there's possibly some grounds for a really open.
Could you stand up and turn
Sorry,
around?
I'm sorry, talking as a person now rather than as a term.
I think there's a real open conversation that needs to be had around funding. It isn't sustainable to run at a deficit, and people are extremely generous, but I do wonder if there is something to sort of discuss over the coming months as to whether there needs to be some form of specific fundraising appeal or just a recognition. You know, people are extremely generous with their money, but I think even that realisation that we are at a deficit is probably a bit of a shock for some people, and probably something we can all think and reflect on and maybe do small contributions to help out. It probably doesn't help that there have been sort of diocese level attempts at fundraising which aren't necessarily impacting on this area. That makes it challenging, but I think we just need to be kind of aware of that. I'm grateful for Maggie and the finance team for sort of sharing that update. It's something for me to think about as well. So.
Can I just say, David, with that Close to God campaign that was initiated, were funds from that meant to filter down to the parish? Where was that going?
I can give that answer.
Our target was 50,000. We raised 42,000, so we did 85%. So we should get about £8,500 back, but it will be over the next few years. So as the money comes in, they will be paying us some back. I don't know yet whether we've got to apply for it with a reason or whether they just give it back to a shed.
They give it back to you, Jan.
Do they just straight away?
Okay. Just hand it out of the trunk.
Alright, so we will be getting some, but it's not going to be
very small.
Yeah.
And where does the rest go?
Clergy. It's clergy, retirement and training, mainly.
Clergy, well no, actually clergy, it's priests and priests, basically. Recruitment, maintenance and retirement. So that's the idea. On that note, just on a point of clarity, and do correct me if I'm wrong, Jan, but that extraordinary response, which had no enthusiasm from me, as you know, for that campaign, but some of you did respond amazingly. It was a very small number of people giving, wasn't it? It was 20. Okay, so out of the 200 or however long many come here, it was a very small percentage who did respond, and I think this whoever you are, it's quite extraordinary that you did that. I wouldn't give a penny to it, knowing that what they do with it. But that is unfortunate. I've mentioned that on live stream again.
Yes.
But unfortunately, we can edit, can't we, Jan? But no. But you know, I mean, for reasons I've been completely upfront with the diocese about. I mean, I refused to have to do it for reasons while it was going on. I didn't say anything. Yeah, priests, the ones we recruit, the ones that we have in post, and the ones and the retirement ones that I have more sympathy with. But the first two absolutely like to identify how crucial priests are in this whole work, but they haven't been the right ones. We've recruited the wrong ones. And the ones that we've got in post, an awful lot of them, God bless them, they're just not able to do the work. And that's why we've lost 70% of our people in the last 15 years. 70%. This is a hemorrhage, to use one of my colleagues' words. And if this was Sainsbury's, or if it was any organisation, no, they would have been fired within a month. And it's because we refuse to look at the real questions. I say we, I'm talking about those in authority. We're in this free fall. And no matter how much money you throw at it, we know this, don't we, from the wider world. You can throw millions of things, and it still doesn't work, because we're not addressing the hemorrhage. Where is the cause of the bleed? That is the question. So, that said, I'm in awe of those who did contribute to that. But when we say we, it's important to recognise that the majority of people did not support that, for good reason, no doubt. And it's right to say it's not impacting our daily financial situation, which is a separate thing. I think a question I've got for you, Maggie, if that's all right to ask this, I speak for myself. I mean, I throughout my time as a priest, most of it anyway, I have contributed myself as a punter, as a parishioner, if you like. I set up a direct debit to the parishes I've been in. But I cancelled it because I was worried that the money that was, not in this parish, until previously, it was being diverted somewhere else. So I think the concern might be of people that we've shown we're surrounded by generosity, as you said, David. But are there any ways of ring-fencing contributions to make sure that it happens here, is going to be used here rather than diverted anywhere else? So is there any mechanism for that?
That I'm not too sure about. I mean, all I can say is that the only money that goes to the diocese from our account that we have no control over is the levy. The rest of the money is ring-fenced under our name, albeit in a Lloyd's Bank that's run by the diocese. You know.
So we have control over everything bar the 8 grand.
Does the levy go up as we have more income?
Yes.
Yes, the levy is we have numbers, so we have to have various counts during the year, which then go back to the diocese. And as I understood it, the levy is based on the last year's or 2 years ago income.
It was, and then last year it changed
because of
how
COVID.
they
That's
worked
right.
it out, and now I have no idea how they work it out.
So we need to find that out, how they work out the levy.
So if we, as a parish, increase our planned giving to get rid of this deficit, we would then have to pay more money to on the levy.
If that's the way, if they work it on our income, they used to work it on numbers, but I think, so that's something we can find out.
Is there any way that we could know how much, as a parish, we should increase our planned giving to get rid of this deficit?
Well, see, we're not in a deficit at the moment.
Well,
We
no,
are-
our income
yeah,
around-
but our income, yeah, of 10, well, that will change as soon as we get the house up and running, because then that will become part of our income. But I think as a general, I'm trying to think of some other churches, who tithe, and they have a specific amount, and they say 10% of your income.
Is that income after expenses or income?
I would say it's income.
May I answer that, lady? I mean, the tithing principle is ancient, and it's the idea that the first, and 10% is a red herring. The first and the best belong to God. So the idea is, when I get paid my monthly salary, the first X amount, before I pay anything else, it goes to God, to the church. So that's the principle of it. And it's a way of, in Jewish times, and they still practice it to this day, many, it's a practical way to make sure we don't forget God and the mission, to have that, and this 10% came through just as a practical way to sort of make sure people don't forget to put first thing, because we owe everything to God at the end of the day. But the second question related to that is, yes, that's the duty to do that, but then you also have a right to know that the money that you give is being spent honestly, justly, wisely, and legally, even, given my latest remarks about Peter's Pen. So the first and the best, it's not necessarily 10%, the first priority should be. So, I'm thinking myself, I try and practice that principle myself, is we're not giving to pay off the deficit. We're giving to God and the mission, which is to save souls. That's it. So it's not a negative, if you like, let's pray. No, we didn't mean it like that. But this isn't about maintenance, it's about mission. And if we get the mission right, the maintenance will look after itself. But when we take our eyes off the ball in terms of, and I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about generally, that our reason for existence here, the reason we have faith is to save souls, is to reach out to people, our children, our grandchildren, and everybody else. That's our focus. If we lose sight of that and we become self-centered about ourselves, it will fail. And that's what we're seeing around us all the time in the church. Thinking about ourselves, forgetting about the mission. So our contributions in an ideal world would be about funding the mission here, about what we're doing here to reach out to others. And there's real evidence of that happening, isn't there, around us? There really is. We do a lot more, of course, but it's a fantastic thing to see. So in terms of the money is going to go up and down, isn't it, the needs as time goes on. I mean, with big expenditure next door or whatever, even with here, in the longer term, the roof or whatever, that's big expenditure on the cards. No, it's a lovely roof, I love it. But it's we're not responding, it's about being proactive, not reactive, I think. Yeah. Joey.
I just wanted to know, if we're spending a lot of money on doing up the house, when we eventually rent it out, does the money come to us or to the diocese?
That comes to us as part of our income.
It does.
Do the diocese take that cut then, Maggie?
Yes.
I'm not too sure how much that is, we would have to find that out.
25% goes to the diocese, the rest comes to us.
Jill, the thing is, the diocese owns the house. So
Shouldn't they repair it then?
well, who is the diocese monetarily? It's you and I. We put our money in the plate, don't we? So that's where they get their money from. The diocese hasn't got this fund they go somewhere else to.
Surely rather than give them the 8,000, that will put it towards them.
Well,
we don't have any choice on that one. It gets because the bank account comes under the diocese. If the diocese wanted to take X amount of money, it would go out immediately.
Oh, I see.
And then we'd be told, or we'd be told it's going out on Monday and it would go.
So you can't argue.
No, we can't. This is the thing, we're not in a democracy, unfortunately. Robert?
What I was going to say was, in a funny sort of way, the school, the idea of using the school thing has been a bit of a distraction. What I feel personally, from experience with Holy Trinity, where we borrowed the money from the diocese, we did up the presbytery, we rented it out through a letting agent, which is absolutely essential, for a period of under a year or a year. All this is, I think we were rather misled here by the diocese, by the bishop saying, oh, we might be all right, because he's not really the person responsible, the trustees are the people responsible. And they were saying, no, we need to keep the property, because you run a risk as soon as you rent anything out, as anybody who's got property that rents it out knows, you can find yourself effectively losing that property, because the people in it go, the expression, it's very popular, no fault eviction comes to mind at the moment. But they explained a set of rules to me when I was doing this at Holy Trinity. I'm losing my thread, I'm sorry.
Robert, can I just tell you, because we're coming on to the presbytery in a second, the part of the property that's going to be addressed. But just on that point, I published a very full account of what happened with the preschool disaster, really, the whole thing. And the disaster was the way the diocese mishandled the whole thing. And I put it in black and white there. So I think that's all been well rehearsed now.
So there's no reason why we couldn't apply to the diocese for a loan, do up the presbytery, just rock on.
Well, we're in the process, as you're here, we're well on in the process of doing that, but we have to make good. A building was abandoned essentially for a whole year because the diocese wasn't acting responsibly in my view. So we're sort of trying to catch up with what's happened, and these big works are now happening. On the financial issues, that's it for the moment. It's an ongoing conversation, don't forget. Any questions you have outside of this meeting today, use the suggestion box, absolutely. This is an ongoing conversation now. And you will be getting regular updates anyway. Thank you very much, Amy, for all of your help and your team as well.
Thank you.
Dan, your property. Slight overlap, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I hadn't looked out, so there's more people here than I thought. Hi, the presbytery. We, as you've heard, we did go with the preschool for a while, and then the diocese have said we can rent it out. I want to thank Anne, who arranged for one of the local estate agents to come in and meet with us, and he has gone through and basically told us what we need to do to the presbytery to get it to the point where we can rent it out. Unfortunately, the first thing we had to do was have an asbestos report done, because the church and the presbytery have both got asbestos in them. We then found out that the 3 ceilings that have got asbestos were damaged, so they've been taken down, and the cold water tank was taken out. Once the cold water tank had been taken out, you could look up through the loft hatch and see lots of shiny stars in the ceiling or in the roof. Turns out they weren't stars, they were holes in the roof. And the ridge has completely come apart. So we've stopped all work on the presbytery, because without a roof you can't do any more work. So we've had some quotes in, they've all finally come in, the 3 quotes. We're looking just under £13,000 to redo the roof. It isn't repairable. We're going to have to change the material because they've used cedar blocks for the, or cedar tiles, and the price of them has just gone through the roof. So the next point is we took it to the finance and the PC. I've taken it to Father John Lee and Father John Cadwick. I've got the go-ahead from all three. It's now going down to the diocese because it's over £5,000. We need their permission to do the work. Father John Lee just said to, how soon can you get it done? If you've got any problems, he'll talk to the diocese. So that's the next job there. We have got the money, like Maggie said, in the bank account. And yes, the money is going to go down whilst we're doing the presbytery up. I've been sort of umming and ahhing about maybe doing a set of accounts and keeping any capital projects separate so that you can see what we would normally have coming in and going out. So I can do that. We can, if we have a project that we want to raise money for, and I mean, one example was one of the churches needed to buy a new monstrance, and it was going to cost them £2,000. So they went to the diocese and said, we are fundraising for this £2,000. Can we ring fence it? And they could, because there's no good saying to people, we need £2,000 plus we need another £500 to give to the diocese. I'm not sure how it would work with the presbytery, but I will ask them. I'll ask the finance department the question, can we ring fence money coming in and spending it? Because the parish levy is on our income only. They work out how much the levy we pay before we've had any expenses put in.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
That seems to go back to your point. It is possible then to donate to the church if it's under a banner of a particular heading, such as Sacred Heart. But whatever it is, we agree whatever the banner is, and that will be, so protects that sum from diocesan.
We can ask them.
Oh.
Yeah, in the past, but I think each case is on its own merit, so we can ask them. We can put our case forward.
When we did the whole job, we basically borrowed a lump sum from the diocese because it was an interest-free loan.
Yeah, but
I know it's
they probably had money in those days. That if they came and looked at our bank account and we go, so we want to borrow some money to do up the presbytery, they'll say, well, you've got the money in your bank account.
I think we were in the same position. Just to do.
And that's what.
Yeah, just
You can, yeah, we can ask them. I will double check with them that.
But can we have it in writing from them so there's no going back?
Yeah, of course.
And also the other thing is, since the roof tiles have become so expensive, why can't we resell them rather to?
I will ask whichever roofer gets the job, which we've got our preferred one, which is a local guy who's worked on the roof originally, and see if any of them are salvageable.
Lots of people who do renovations, they do that.
Yeah.
Especially on older properties.
But he'll be able to look into it.
Yeah, we can.
That's a good point.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, but back to the property though. Is there anything in the church that needs pressing attention?
Not at the moment. I mean, I'm always keeping an eye on the ceiling, just to make sure that it is. We had battens put in to help keep the board up, because during COVID and afterwards, when the windows were open all the time and the heating wasn't on, they did start to sag a bit and crack. So we've shored them all up. I mean, the roof is asbestos, but if we ever have to replace that, then we would probably look at to try and make it more heat-proof.
Yeah,
insulation.
Is that damp up there now? On this, just along here, that's a shadow.
There's maybe a shadow. There are. If I look, it's really difficult because you actually have to look directly where you're sitting. Yeah, no, that's the shadow because.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
It's wet.
There's something going on.
But they're all because the battens are away from the ceiling.
Yeah.
They're not on. They're only drilled in, and it goes all the way down every single batten. So I think it's a shadow.
Why can't it be like
Sorry?
Why can't we get a roof and just get it to check it and check it and then because we've seen that rain.
Well, I think we can answer this.
I will get someone to come in and just double check with us.
Just as a reassurance to everybody, we have, again, this is a diocesan regulation and policy. We have a thing called the quinquennial report, which means every 5 years, every ounce, every bit of the property, all the buildings here, or the premises, are inspected and then worked out. It's presuming that there's an ongoing maintenance program, which there is, but it gives an official sort of benchmark upon which you can measure all the necessary works. And the last quinquennial report was
3 years ago.
3 years ago. So that will have identified, albeit 3 years ago, we're sort of edging towards the next one now. To work out precisely like this, and the roof will be very much part of that assessment. But we're certainly on it because this is certainly since I've been here, the roof has been flagged out as a long-term issue that would need addressing at some point at no small cost, of course. So I think it's not something that's been forgotten about at all, and we'll certainly flag up that with all the other companion issues.
Yeah, when we were told to have an asbestos report done for the house, we did get the whole site done. So, and they did look at the roof. So it's actually the tiles on the outside on the roof that are asbestos. And they said that at the moment it is sound. Yeah. So I'm praying that we're going to get a few more years without having to do anything about that roof, because that is going to be a huge expense. And so let's try and get the presbytery done first.
In terms of priorities, that appears to be an issue, but don't worry, it's not being forgotten about, not at all. Okay, but that's it. Yes.
We feel that they will come, this will require some work, and you said it's a major expenditure. If we say we set up one, start collecting money now for that particular activity, do we have to pay the diocese those donations? Even though we are saying this money that we are raising is for the roof.
That, as I understand it, that's the case that we would have to make to the diocese, that this is a project which people are giving specific money for, and it's not, therefore, the intention of giving that money is not to give to the diocese, it's for the roof only. So people need to know and be given that insurance in writing, that is what's happening, and that's what Jan is saying.
It's worth checking that, because we know this is going to come soon one day.
But it's not just a roof. If you look at the entire building, it's got single skin brickwork. It's got double skin finish. And you get damp coming through brickwork. I don't know if you've ever been here in the middle of the winter. I've stood up there, and water's been pouring down that wall. It's just been condensation. You get the heat on, you get the damp. So it's not just the roof.
No, it's just
start looking at the whole structure. If you look at the whole structure, you start thinking, would it be cheaper than knocking down and rebuilding? That is the problem. And that's why you've got to look at it. You don't spend £100,000 on the roof, what it's going to cost, and then think, oh, this rest is going to be fine. Where do you draw the line?
And you're suggesting knock down the church and
I'm
build
not
a new
suggesting
one.
that at all. I'm suggesting if you're looking at doing repairs to the workers, that's a kind of.
No, but it's-
Where do you draw the line? You've got to start.
The point
You start at the
about
bottom, you don't start at the top.
The point about having a professional complaint survey is that there was detailed
And that's what we've got.
that needs to be done, which we've got, as Jan's given it to me, I've read it, and it is, yes, it's a long-term thing, but it's not.
Yeah, but you don't start financial fund now unless you know what you're funding
And
for.
they're not-
they should start thinking about it
Where you
now.
think it may be the floor, it may be the brickwork. You know, you can't.
I
How
think-
do you take money off people for a roof, and you've got to look at the foundation of the building.
The quinquennial idea is that it's exactly about that. It's foreseeing problems in the future, prioritising which needs to be done. And as Emrys has said, it's about avoiding wasting funds, precious funds, on things that will not be sustainable. So, obviously, we have to look at, that's what the quinquennial is for. It looks at the whole premises here, every aspect of it, to make sure that the money that we do invest in it is not wasted, and that we have to just completely, like we've had next door all the last year, it's been a bit of a waste. The quinquennial is our guide on, it's a professional report, it's our guide on that.
Well, as Jan said, in maybe 2, 3, 4 years from now,
2 years.
we will need something. So priority-wise, let's not let the rain come in, so we need to fix the roof first.
No, and the quinquennial directly addresses that and suggests a priority of attention. Okay, sorry, Anne, yeah.
Can the estate agent give you an estimate of what rental to expect?
Yeah. So we got an estimate of between 1,700 and 1,750 a month.
How many bedrooms is that?
4.
4.
4-bedroom house.
It's because you change the use of the large room to a lounge diner and you don't have a dining room. Because at the moment,
Or a study.
there's a dining room and a study and 2 small living rooms.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit much. No, it's out. Oh, okay.
A one bedroom flat is just over £1,000 a month.
We have to use a letting agent or estate agent to let that property out. So of course they do charge, and they do charge quite a bit. But that's the diocese rule. We can't rent it ourselves, and to be honest, I'm not sure we want to. Yeah, so the first month is pretty much wiped out with checks and things, and then it's 10%.
Okay, can we get slightly back on track, if that's all right, everyone? In terms of a question I have, I suppose, unless anybody else has anything about premises, is in terms of going back to the house, do you have in your mind, Jan, sort of a rough idea of time frame? Are we looking at a potential rental or putting it on the market at Christmas or something like that? Is that a realistic kind of target?
It's all going to be dependent on the roof and how soon the diocese comes back. Because we have money in the bank, we can employ people up to £5,000 without having to get permission from the diocese. but because the roof is going to be 12, 13,000 depending on which contractor, we need to get it to them and they need to give us permission. Now, I was told, and we were told by one of the guys from Estates, a guy called Steve, that Estates can give us that permission. But I can't find anywhere in the policies and procedures that that is the case. It sort of has to go to the trustees.
Which is why we're chasing all the time.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he has got it right, and actually head of finance and and the CEO can actually give that permission, as it's under 30,000.
So the roofer has given an indication as to how long it would take to read.
He hasn't, no. Again, of course, as soon as I can get the answer back from the diocese, I can approach the roofer.
But also, we're going to need an answer from them in writing that if, say, we raise money for the roof,
then we can just put it all to the roof, not to them.
take anything from it.
Yeah, I will write to the finance
So we can start
director on that one.
Yes, it's not just this roof, it's that roof. Yeah.
If Father John Lee has said that he will be able to kick the diocese up the backside for whatever, can we not contact him? Because if Steve Hardman is in charge of finance, surely Father John would have a direct link to him to sort of see whether we can get it approved in principle.
Yeah, I've sent Father John Nixon and spoke to him on Thursday about this, that I would CC him in on any emails, and if I had a problem, I would get in touch with him, and he will see it further forward. But I believe it's once a week the estates meet and discuss each project.
How often do the trustees meet?
The trustees, there's different meetings each month. Unfortunately, I think for capital projects it's probably once every quarter. Yeah. So but it's under 30,000. So I think we would be okay with just either Heather or Clive or Daniel.
I think they should make it their priority since they've kept it empty for such a long time. And
yeah.
also, the fact that it has to be rented before the winter so that we don't have any more damage from now.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're going backwards.
Yeah, I will put, there's a lovely form that I'm halfway through filling in, and everything will be sent off to them on Monday, and I will put all this in that, because they've messed us around.
Does the house need a new bathroom?
No, I was quite surprised, but both the estate agent and the diocese who came to have a look said, no, just regrout the tiles, give it a good clean, and it's fine.
What about the kitchen?
And same with the kitchen. I know. No.
Because I know if I don't properly up,
yeah, you could.
I can only get taxed if we've been rented out for a while before I spent money on it. Tax rebate on the money I spent.
No, it's no.
That's a charity, yeah.
It's a charity. What they have said is rent it out for a year, get some money back in, and then look at maybe a new kitchen or a new bathroom. But at the present they've said no, it's functional. It might not be the best kitchen in the world or the best bathroom, but it's usable and it's functional. And people that rent don't tend to look after it anyway.
Thanks, Jan, for that. Anyway. Just in conclusion then, the pressure is on. We're keeping the pressure on. Thank you for that, and Jan and the team. And because pressure needs to be maintained, obviously, on the diocese to get the job done, and let's do it as quickly as we can. Thank you for all the hard work. Massive thank you. Okay, thank you everybody. Dave. No project here.
Yeah. Right, thank you, Jan. So, we obviously, the final section of the session today was intended for questions and things. Obviously, it's been fantastic to hear questions throughout. each of the topics and themes as we've gone through. So I don't want to assume there aren't any more things that people want to raise. So, but it might well be it's a sort of a quicker session. Does anybody have any questions that they might have been saving up that they haven't already raised as we've gone through? Is there anything else anyone would like to ask, whether it's any of the committee or Father John about it? Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is it raining down to these walls here?
No, it's the condensation. You've got the heating on, you've got the cold, you get condensation.
It's not raining down.
They're solid walls.
Thank you.
Basically, not like home.
So for anyone who perhaps maybe couldn't hear that, the question was about, is there rising damp in the church? And the unequivocal answer is no, that's not the issue. It's not rising damp. It's sometimes seasonal condensation, heating, and conversations around that. But again, the quinquennial report captures all of these sorts of things. And do you have a question?
Just another thought of getting more money into the church. Should we not advertise the hall a bit more? Because loads of people want to all to have classes, planting classes. I know we had them in the past, but then the carpet was so bad, nobody wanted to come back. But now it's done, should we not try and keep the hall up a good maintenance so that we can let it and get income that way? Because they pay quite a bit to rent a hall out.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that's a good potential idea. And obviously the management and administration around keeping on top of that is obviously potentially quite a sizable one. So I don't know how to answer the question. Sorry, I don't think it would be me doing it, but I think it's probably something that could be. I guess the challenge we've got in Hook is that there are a lot of other centres where people can rent space.
They're very, very expensive.
It's a good point.
Just a little bit cheaper.
It's a good point.
What we do at Holy Trinity is basically on the glass on the window, if you'd like to rent this hall.
Sorry, Rob.
Ring this number.
Some signage, yeah.
I'm saying what we've done at Holy Trinity is that the hall has, because we had to pay for that, it's got a glass on the glass, it's got a sign on the inside saying please ring if you'd like to book.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's not a huge amount of passing traffic there, but I think there could be things. There's maybe, of course, there's advertising. There's, we have a section in the Hook Focus every month. Maybe there's a line in there, all available to hire. Please contact the office. I don't know. I think it's a good point. I think it's something that could and should be explored. We obviously have some people in already, but we can try. It's not going to pay for the roof, but I think it's important to have income coming in.
Right. Yes, go on, we've got.
Yes, nothing to do with finance at all, but we used to have very close links with Bishop Challin's school in Basingstoke, and we are a contributory parish. That ceased a number of years ago, and I wonder if it could be reinstated. Senior members of staff who used to visit in the autumn term to talk to parents who were interested in sending their children from Hook to Bishop Challin's school. Until a few years ago, we always had a number of children attending that school. And I remember a number of years ago as well, the vicar of St John's sent his daughters to Bishop Challin's school. And I think you were saying, Father, a few weeks ago, how impressed you were when you visited the school.
I'm delighted to raise that. I decided to give sort of a day a week to Bishop Challin's school from now on. Because I think it's an absolute incredible that there is no overt commitment, priestly commitment to a community with 1,000 people who attend every day, not on a Sunday, every single day. So my experience, I've just done it for 3 weeks so far. I don't know whether you call that a commitment to Bishop Challenge, do you?
Absolutely.
But I mean that for me is time very well spent, and every single time I've been there, and it's for overtly priestly work without going into too much detail for obvious reasons, I have seen 50 to 60 young people every time. 50 to 60. And I have to turn 20 away every time to the next week. So that's my personal commitment. No, it's our commitment as Sacred Heart. And I hope you approve of that use of time. because our youngsters absolutely deserve that. And the fact is, we have young people going to Bishop Challoner within the Hook area. The trouble is, they don't necessarily come here. So now they're seeing me there, and it's about building those relationships and confidence and what have you. I've never seen such faith. I've never seen such faith in such an amount of faith in so many young people in all my life. I've never seen it. And there's a queue a mile long to receive the sacraments. Isn't that a fantastic thing? And it just shows what is going on there. And whether or not the parishes are involved is another question, but I'm trying to do something about that. But it's huge. Faith is in abundance there in those young people. So whatever is happening in that school is a wonderful tribute to evangelisation. If the bishop wants to go and see evangelisation, go and visit that school. Absolutely fantastic. Yes, Bishop.
I was just going to say, in terms of my experience, many years ago trying to decide on schools with my children, and obviously as a Catholic coming to the school, coming to the church, two schools I looked at, it was Robert Mays and Bishop Challoner, and visited Bishop Challoner when Laura was going to start school, and you know, overwhelmingly, if that school had been closer, we would not take our children. The overriding thing was getting there. Yes. Because when I looked,
yes, it's a right old trick.
Yeah, when I looked at how to do it, the only way to do it would have been for me to drive there, realistically, and back again every day. And it, you know, it was just impossible to factor in a sort of what would be actually longer than you think because of the traffic. I even drove the route.
They don't have a coach. Things from different areas.
Yeah, I think we might be. I think we're all agreeing Bishop Challoner deserves our support, yes? And I'm putting my back into it.
Right, so will you contact them and invite them as they used to come to speak to the parents?
Invite the school to come here?
The senior staff.
To come to where?
They used to come every autumn
to
and speak in the hall to parents who were interested in sending their children there.
We can certainly, I mean, are we seeing people, families, I suppose, increasingly coming in?
There's no way of getting there, it won't be because
I think that's going to be, perhaps we ought to fund the bus. Yes, question. But I mean, as always, it comes down to, you know, the degree we're prepared to commit. Okay, everybody, thank you. Three things to finish with. First of all, communication. And the second one is thank you, just in case I forget in my head. And the last one is purpose. What was the first one? Communication. So, this meeting, thank you so much for coming along, everyone. I'm very conscious, however, the vast majority have stayed away. Which, in my mind, suggests this is the wrong time and the wrong place. Because the vast majority are not here. So, I'd like to just put it, you know, with all of you, would tagging a 20-minute, obviously we'd have to change the dynamic of it, because this was the first time we've done this, at least in my time anyway. Would it not be better to really address, when people come it's for Sunday Mass on Saturday evening, and to tag on 20 minutes at the end to address this? Yes. Because this is great, but it's not effective, because the majority of people are not here.
And we must stick to time.
And we must stick to time, and thank you very much for that question. Being the first one off, the first time, not one off, the first time we've done this, I hope I haven't wrecked your schedules for Saturday. The second one is thank you, really, and it's thank you to all of you, and thank you to all the different teams that are constantly working behind the scenes. I take the point that a lot of the work is unseen and not even known about by the majority, but without whom we wouldn't have the family of faith that we have. And the more and more we can expose a lot of this for to bring more and more people involved, the art of delegation is essential in all this. It's about enabling people to take their part in the work of this mission, which is very exciting given all that's been said and done over these past months. So a big thank you to all the different teams, the Parish Council, Pastoral Council, the Finance team, and all the other teams who do the actual work throughout. And thank you, Jan, for all that you do for us as well, massively. Finally, the work, what was the last one? Purpose. Just a reminder, because I can easily forget this, and maybe that's something that we can all forget sometimes. Why are we here? We are here to preach the good news, and I don't mean standing on soapboxes in the corner. I'm talking about practical, unconditional love and service to our brothers and sisters, especially those who don't come here. That is our mission. It's the reason we're here, the reason God has given us faith, and it's the benchmark that we measure everything. Never forget the bigger picture. That is it. It's not about, maintaining bricks and mortar. That's part of the wider mission. It has value because it's part of the wider vision, the mission that we have. Okay? So that's, I'm not going to keep banging on about that, I'm afraid. That's my job. But that is the big picture we constantly have to keep in mind and also in our hearts. Glory be to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, now and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. Saint Joseph, pray for us in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Enjoy what's left of Saturday.
And I've got, I've given